One of the things I love to do and always liked to do was write. I'm just a prolific writer, and I spend a lot of time in my cell when I have free moments, when I'm not in the chapel or at work or whatever. I try to get some writing done. Usually writing letters to individuals to encourage them, sometimes writing letters to churches and youth groups. I also have an online journal, riseandshine.org, and which is run by a friend. I don't have internet access or anything like that. But sometimes I'll send my writings to this person and they'll put it online because they feel it, you know, touches a lot of lives. And people from all over the world actually read that. We had visitors from the Middle East and Africa and China. It's really amazing that the site's been there for a number of years, since 2005 actually. And so I love writing a journal. Even prior to that, I would send out some of my writings to friends, and over time, friends would comment, David, you know, these things need to be in a book. Now I was just writing for enjoyment, and also because these are things God put on my heart to write about certain things, different subjects, or spiritual messages or whatever, mixture of all these things. And my attitude was, well, if God wants me to put these in a book form, I'll have to send somebody my way to do that, because I have no idea how to do that. I never even thought about that. Well, over time, another friend did find somebody who was a book publisher and approached me, a Christian man, and offered to put some of my journal entries into book form. Not for me to profit, I take nothing from that, but it was just to reach people with the writing. So I said, well, let the Lord's will be done. And a book called Son of Hope Prison Journal, Volume 1 was released, I think about 2005. Although the publisher kind of dropped the ball, it's not really available anymore. But I continue to write my online journal, and I stay busy with that, and just reaching people. But I would, this is something I'd like to just kind of maybe read, you know, when you can put in at some point or use. I wrote this. This is a little separate than the journal thing, but it's I guess part of the journal. I wrote this morning prior to this interview, and because I love writing, and these thoughts came to my mind, and I know that in the intensity of an interview I'd forget these things, so I wanted to make sure that I said this. It's titled Story of Tragedy and Triumph, Sorrow and Hope, November 10th, 2015. I think the Bronx was the greatest place to live and grow up in. It was lively, exciting, challenging, and at times scary, and so much more. This is where I grew up, in the Bronx, New York City. A boy growing up in the Bronx could experience many things, some good, some not so good. The streets of the borough were filled with energy, a mixture of fun and danger. From my bedroom window, I could see for miles. I could see the lights of what was then Shea Stadium whenever the New York Mets played night games in town. Softball, Little League baseball, stickball, curveball, flag football, and flipping baseball cards. My 3-speed English racer was my dear companion. I rode on my bike night and day. I pedaled hundreds of miles on my bikes, and this is not an exaggeration. The streets of the Bronx were teemed with people. The roof of my apartment building in Soundview was a hangout for heroin addicts. Stores were everywhere. Ice cream trucks visited my street every summer. The Bronx was the greatest, and in my mind, it always will be. That's where I grew up. I grew up in the Soundview section of the Bronx, and anyone familiar with that area, it was a really rough and tumble, hard-scrabble area filled with housing projects, working class to poor people, a very high crime area. In fact, in the 1980s, it was when the crack epidemic ravaged the city. It was the Soundview section of the Bronx, which was the 43rd precinct, police precinct, had like one of the highest murder rates in the nation, and that's where I grew up. It was a wild, exciting, and adventurous neighborhood. Parts of it was scary. I had my good times, my bad times. I had my friends. I was very athletic, you know, with my energy. I was playing all kinds of ball. You know, we'd play in the streets. The ice cream trucks would come by every summer, you know, Mr. Softy and Good Humor, Bungalow Bar. It was an adventure. I mean, I think I grew up in the greatest place in the world. And in fact, I thank God that I was adopted. Even though my parents, you know, I had hardships because my adoptive parents, meaning well, told me my mom died while giving birth to me, which the so-called child expert said to do at the time. And even though I had my struggles, looking back, my life was so much better because I was adopted. My birth mother was a wonderful, sweet lady, but she would have had to raise me alone because my birth father didn't want to have anything to do with me, you know, and she always was short of money and struggling to get by. So I never would have had the clothing, the bicycle, my little weightlifting set, everything my adoptive parents lavished on me because I was their only child. I was their love, their hope, their joy. These were wonderful people, and because my adoptive parents, you know, they were in their 40s when they adopted me. They waited so long to adopt a child. I mean, I got treated extra special. They spoiled me, but in a good way, and I love them for that. And my dad was there to nurture me and keep me in line because I was really a behavioral problem. He was the one who pushed me through school because I would have dropped out. I needed tutoring, after school tutoring, because I had problems with my studies. That was all the attention deficit disorder that was back then seen as just being a dumbbell, when really I think I was very smart in many ways. I could write real good today. Ended up, even though I was in prison at the time, I ended up graduating college. I have a degree now, a college degree now, which I got while in prison, and on and on. So God has allowed me to have a life, under these difficult circumstances, allowed me to have a good life. Even though prison life is very hard, there are good sides of it too. Being a Christian and being able to serve the Lord. I feel like I'm a missionary living in a foreign land because I'm here in a tough spot representing Jesus Christ. But looking back, my birth mother would have never been able to give me all of the things that, not just material things, but just the attention, the time, and everything that my adoptive parents gave me. They were wonderful parents. And so I really consider myself a blessed person. At one time, I thought that my birth was a curse, that I didn't deserve to live. I had that death wish. I had self-destructive behavior patterns because of all the false guilt. And now I could see that I had the best of both worlds. I had two mothers who loved me. I had my mother Pearl and I had my mother Betty, and they were always by my side, even when I messed up. My adoptive mother Pearl died when I was 14, which was really set me off on a course even worse than I was, and it was kind of part of my downfall with truancy and running the streets and things like that. As a teenager, I was 14. And then, of course, after I was incarcerated, my birth mother died too, back in the 80s, and I missed them both very much. And I had the blessings of having two nice families. I had the Berkowitz family, and then I had my birth mother's family, my sister and my nieces, and I missed them and loved them very much. I'm long since out of contact and estranged with them because it's understandable. They just couldn't take what happened, and it was too much for them to deal with. I've lost everything. You know, coming in one physical sense, in an emotional sense, I lost everything coming to prison because other than my dad, my adoptive father, Nathan, was the only one who stuck with me all the years of incarceration, and he's passed away. And the other family, you know, they're all gone. So I mean, I paid a big price, but I'm living with hope now. And I really had the best of both worlds. I look back and see my childhood as overall a great experiences. In spite of the pain, there was great things, you know, running the streets. That's a lot of fun. The Bronx was filled with fun, you know, and I just, you know, thank God for the life that, I mean, I wish it turned out better. I wish these things never happened, but in spite of that, when I leave this earth, I'm leaving the earth with a lot of good memories, a lot of precious good memories. I had good times growing up in the pedaling my bike all over the place, Castle Hill, Classen Point, all the things that maybe people don't even know where that is. Well, yeah, Stratford Avenue was a great place to grow up. I lived in a 6th-floor tenement building, the top floor, and as I said, from my window as a kid, I could see for miles and miles all throughout the neighborhood, and a lot of great adventures, a lot of experiences. Yeah, it was a high crime area, wild area, but my parents made a home for me, and I'm thankful. I'm thankful for everything that I experienced that was good. I experienced many good things in life. People would know that because they just focus on the crimes. But you know, I'm not going to allow my life to be defined by the crimes that happened during that very difficult time of my life when I was not in my right mind, and where I had other influences, people influencing me too, with the Satanism and things like that. You know, that was a tragic period. I was at a vulnerable time getting out of the Army, and all my friends that I knew before I went into the Army had all moved on, got married, so I was kind of like the odd man out. And I was just lonely and searching for my place in the world, and fell into a lot of hard times. But I'm a survivor. I mean, God has brought me all this way, and He didn't bring me all this way for nothing. And I believe that God had His hand on my life even before I was born. I may have been born out of wedlock. People make a big deal out of it. It's no big deal to me anymore, because as I said, I thank God for everything that happened to me, because it's all worked out for the good in the long run. But God has given me, God knew I was coming one day, and He welcomed me into this world. So even if my birth father, Joe, didn't want me, God wanted me. And so the story in some way has a happy ending. It's a happy ending.